would without you. Oh, after everything is done, I will thank you for how long I have enough. You brought the friends and you put me through hell. I had to learn how to fight for myself. And I for you to have done all the wrong heart you did. Dr. Rabbi also. If you're new to my show, welcome. I have a PhD in clinical psychology. I'm a psychology professor at California State University, Channel Islands. I've been always obsessed with the science of love. I've written 3 books on relationships. I did a dissertation on attachment style. I'm not a therapist, I'm a thinker, and I love to talk about our relationships. And I think about our young people, our teenagers. I myself have a teenager, and during 2 years of COVID, I will say, there were some teenagers who did well when we went on Zoom because they already had learning differences or social anxiety, or they didn't like the Mean Girls flick. And so for those kids, they sort of had some relief from the anxiety they felt taking across a campus of Mean Girls every day. It was actually my daughter's case. But I did watch her staring at her phone for years, often being in a dark bedroom for hours and hours during the day. Let's go for a walk. Let's get out. Maybe in my boat. Maybe I can make her do that. Now I teach undergraduates in college. I have the last 8 years. But I have noticed in the last few years a greater preponderance of them having so much social impact. If you ask them to even introduce themselves to class, say your name, say your major, some of them are completely tongue-tied. One of the things I try to do in every class is put them into groups for group discussions, so at least they're getting together and physically talking to each other in class. You know, there was one student a few semesters ago, and he was acting as an extrovert. He seemed to have really good social skills. He was always a team leader in his group. And one time we were chatting, and I asked him about, how he was raised or where he was raised. He literally was raised in the Redwood Forest. He wasn't on any kind of digital. He was in the middle of, north of Tennessee there. So on Monday, the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Study, one of the longest running national representative studies on Gen Z, our teenagers, came out. Now what they put out was an 89-page summary of the trends. They collected the data between 2011 and 2021, but this latest release took place in the fall of 2021. That's when they started, and they just released it now. Now, the survey's done every second year. So basically, what we're seeing is this. If there were changes between, say, 2019 and 2021, you know what was going on there. A lot of teenagers in the bedroom looking at their phones. This might be the clearest evidence to show how COVID had impacted our teenagers. And what the biggest news from this study is, COVID has mostly impacted, or the time of COVID, quarantine time, the isolation time, has mostly impacted teenage girls. Now, I did a lot of reading on this, trying to figure out the answer to why. One of the most interesting pieces I read was by Jonathan Haidt, a famous social psychologist, and he said, let's quote here, most teens had only lost their social lives to their phone long before COVID. Apparently, they spent an average of 2 hours a day with friends in person back in 2010, and then they moved their social lives to Snapchat, Instagram, and eventually TikTok. Now, they were online even when they were in the same room with their friends. All COVID did was increase this behavior. Now, why was it worse for girls? Why weren't boys suffering the same mental health benefits? Let's think about how they do use their phones. What are boys doing? Or their computers. They are playing video games, and they're watching YouTube videos. But what do girls do? They go deep on social media. And that is the single largest cause of teen mental health problems. Teenagers, these girls, are super susceptible to something called social evaluative stress. They believe they're being evaluated all the time. One of the things I teach is developmental psychology. And when I talk about adolescents, I talk about how they have this imaginary audience at all times. That's why the teenagers are going, Mom, stop, Dad, that's so awkward. Oh, don't embarrass me, right? They're imagining that everybody's watching, everybody's judging it. But on social media, they're actually doing it. They're commenting, thumbs down, thumbs up, right? Now, as part of this study, we also saw an increase in teen dating violence. I have to tell you, last night, as I woke up this morning after, I remembered this terrible dream that I had this morning. And it was that I walked up to my teenage daughter, and she was hugging her friend, and they were bonding over the fact that they'd all been choked by the same guy. The nightmare for me was that I was witnessing them talking about it, and it seemed normalized to them. I have to tell you, my boyfriend, who's 53 years old, on his TikTok feed, the algorithm, sees some young girls asking to be choked. Okay? Please give it to any man. It's amazing. Are these girls doing this because they want this, or because they think the boys want it? Because the boys have been conditioned from pornography. According to this recent study, about 18% of teenage girls and 11% of boys surveyed by the Center for Disease Control in 2021 said they have been forced to have sex or some other form of intimate contact. About 60%, I'm going to say that again, 60% of young people between the ages of 12 and 18 experience some form of emotional and psychological abuse in their friendships and their dating relationships. And here's the really bad news. About 57% of teenage girls and 29% of boys reported having a persistent feeling of sadness or at some point over the course of 2021. All right, when we come back and figure out more about why this is going on, and I have a special guest who's going to help us make sense of it and help us figure out what we can do for our kids. You're listening to the Dr. Wendy Ross Show on 25 and 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Right now, let's go to Mark Bonner in 24 hours news.
An auxiliary bishop of the Archdiocese of LA has been shot and killed in Hacienda Heights. The LA County Sheriff's Department says Bishop David O'Connell was shot and killed before 1 p.m. yesterday. O'Connell was found in a room with a gunshot wound to his upper torso. The Sheriff's Department said detectives are investigating this as a suspicious death. A fire has damaged the Dewey Hotel in downtown LA. LA City Fire says the fire started inside one unit on the second floor of the hotel around 7:30 this morning. The town of East Palestine, Ohio, will be receiving more help after a train derailment released toxic materials earlier this month. FEMA officials are now on the ground there to help coordinate long-term recovery needs. Residents of the small town are concerned of the potential impact to their health. Officials say air and water quality tests have come back clean. Not everyone in the town, about 2,000, is convinced. North Korea has launched 2 more ballistic missiles toward its eastern waters. ABC's Rick Clarence says the missile firings today come on the heels of an intercontinental ballistic missile launch yesterday.
State media also reporting it flew for more than an hour and traveled more than 600 miles before landing in the King occupied West Coast.
Senate says U.S. and South Korea fighter jets scrambled in response to North Korea's provocation. And Jimmy Kimmel will return as the host of this year's Academy Awards. The promo is done in the style of Top Gun Maverick, complete with John Hamm playing his character Vice Admiral Bo Simpson. Dave Kristen Kimmel, your reputation precedes you. Thank you. Not in a good way. No. Kimmel, decked out in a Top Gun jacket complete with Ray-Ban, has been called in to accept the mission as this year's host. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting to be asked to host again. Well, let me be perfectly clear. You were not my first choice. Ham's character lists all the people considered before Kimmel. Whoopi Goldberg, Tina Fey, Jon Stewart, Chris Rock, Letterman, Leno, Arsenio, Magic Johnson, Chevy Chase, Kyle Justin, the Pilot, Steve Carell, Steve Buscemi, Steve Austin, Steve Seagal, Steve Urkel, Steve from Blue's Clues. That's just a few. ABC is tasked up with finding a host who is unflappable and unflappable. Good, all of that's good because I can't get slapped. I cry a lot. The Oscars are Sunday, March 12th, and KFI News will be backstage. Steve Gregory, KFI News. We are headed to a crash on the 10th. West Covina, that's Midwest before Azusa Avenue. That's crash blocking the carpool lane. Can have you on the break from Citrus Street. OTK West Sunflower Avenue. red door. That's a crash blocking the carpool in the two left lanes. In each lane, it's two west after the 710. That's a crash blocking the two right lanes. It's deadlock traffic for the Atlantic Boulevard, and the down the on-ramp to 60 is closed as well. In Irwindale, the 605 north before the 210, that's a crash also blocking the carpool lanes. KFI and Skyhook City, they're faster. I'm Zachary Davis. Ladies and gentlemen, Hot Tech Audio Bibliani has arrived! And now, the top 7 reasons to visit the marketplace in Toronto. Number 7.
Contact is open. Take out meat and Brazilian Palazzo.
Number 6.
The channel is open. Try the beef and power and oysters on the house.
Number 5.
The delivery is open.
Number 4.
Parking walk-up is open. The best barbecue this side of Mississippi.
Number 3.
Mercado Central is open. It's unrivaled, innovative Italian family.
Number 2.
Sweet Cheese is open. Sweet Street for the biggest sweet cheese.
And the number 1 reason to go to the marketplace at Morongo.
The marketplace is open. It's an elevated all-you-can-eat casino dining experience you've got to try today. The marketplace is open.
Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Morongo. Good time! Southline weather from KFI, partly cloudy tonight with lows in the mid-40s down to mid-30s in the I-80 and AV. President's Day tomorrow will be sunny with highs in the mid-50s at the beaches and around 70 in Metro LA, OC, the Valleys, and Inland Empire. This week we got a chance of rain that starts Wednesday and could last through next weekend. Right now it's 57 in Irvine, 56 in Santa Ana. You lead local, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Mark Ron. Nice, convenient location. It's great brands. Get super prices on a super selection during the Norm Reed President's Day event at Norm Reed Superstore. From West Covina to the Cerritos Auto Square. And from Huntington Beach to the Irvine Auto Center. You'll find a Norm Reed Superstore near you. Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai, Genesis, Volkswagen, and Honda. We have your favorite new models in stock. Plus, get full peace of mind when you purchase. Thanks to our exclusive price protection guarantee. With this, if you can buy the same new vehicle for less than a day, your range will pay you the difference or buy your vehicle back. The price protection guarantee provides assurance so there is no need to shop anywhere else. Don't miss the Norm Reed President's Day event. Test drive today at a Norm Reed Superstore location, like the #1 Honda store in the world in the Cerritos Auto Square. Or shop online at normreed.com. That's the Volvo Honda user. Sales 2022. Science Food, quality sweet advice for your mental, emotional, and physical health. The Sleep Number 360 Quad Bed samples your movement and automatically adjusts to help you be both effortlessly comfortable and adaptive to outfit to stay cool. So you're at your best for yourself and those who care about most. Life-changing sleep, only from Sleep Number. It's our President's Day special. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition Quad Bed, plus free home delivery when you add an accessible base and Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
During uncertain times, it is extremely important to stick with normal routines. Predictability and structure help kids self-regulate. Share schedules with your kids to help reduce anxiety, fear, and boredom. This Cal Hopeful Moment is brought to you by calhope.org. Life is uncertain. It's okay if you're stressed and worried or frustrated. Cal Hope will help. Access Cal Hope's free and secure mental health resources. Call 833-317-4673 or live chat at calhope.org. Live everywhere.
Download the free Radio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
So wonderful, Saturday. Now and then, I hear insecure all the same. KFI and City Coordinator who are documenting the documentary also. I have a special guest joining me in the studio, Jessica Hubbard. We serve as the CEO of Contract Youth Shelter here in Orange County. And basically, it is a shelter for, I hate to say it, your parents making quotations, throwaway youth. What a disturbing video. Mike, a little closer enough. There we go. What kind of children do you serve? You serve youth in crisis, first and foremost. That term, throwaway, and we put in quotations, not my term. It's a government term. You go to the federal website discussing these types of kids, and that's the kind of Because these are kids that have been thrown out of their home. Parents have said, not in my house, or they're choosing a partner over their kids, so they've been thrown out of their home. There's also runaway kids and trafficked kids. So the parents listening today hope that their children will not be in your hands and your care. And let's talk about prevention. Now, I mentioned in the last segment that according to this new CDC study, about 18% of teenage girls and 11% of boys surveyed say they've been forced to have sex or some other intimate contact in their dating relationship. About 57% of teenage girls and 29% of boys reported having persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness at some point in 2021. Now, it's interesting because the background of this is that in the 2000s, we saw a decline in religion, an increase in babies out of wedlock, sexual and social permissiveness. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying this is the climate. And crime rates were low. This, decline of the two-parent family became more acceptable. I myself was a single-parent family for 18 years. It was just accepted and normal. But according to New York Times opinion columnist ROTHSCHILD, I want you guys to listen to this. He says the smartphone revolution asks people raised under these conditions, raised with less family stability, weak attachments to religion, strong emphasis on self-creation, and a strong hostility to normalness to enter and forge this new social world. And they went forth, and they created the online world we know today. With its pinball motion between extremes of toxic narcissism and the solidarity of the mob, its therapy speaks unmoored from real communities, its conspiracism and ideological craziness. This is a staring catastrophe. Wow. Do you agree with this, that it's social media that's making our kids so sad? It's a problem. It is a big problem. I don't think it's the only problem. I think it's a big one. And I think what's more important for us to be asking ourselves is, rather than just accepting that social media is this huge problem because it is, let's instead talk about why it is such a big problem. What's happening behind the scenes, and what are the contributing factors to making it so harmful for our kids? So I mentioned earlier that teenage girls are really susceptible to socially valued threats, right? They have this imaginary audience that's watching them all the time, but with social media, that audience isn't so imaginary. They're getting likes, dislikes, nasty comments, they're being judged constantly. It's a big piece. It is. I think that when you're looking at social media with our kids and really with anyone, there's two types of behavior that are working. We're watching, we're observing, we're judging ourselves, and we're judging others. And that's where we're seeking that, maybe that external validation when you're looking for things to get people to like what you're doing. But I think there's also the posting. That's the other big participation. So you're out there, you're making your comments, you're putting your own comments out there. You're seeking that external validation. But another component to all of it, in addition to external validation, we have external deprecation, because I think this is taking place, and that's even far more harmful. We talk about this. I want people to like me. I want people to see me. I want to be seen. But we're doing so much judging ourselves, and that's just the most harmful part for our kids. That they're doing that negative self-talk, they're doing negative self-talk. Also, talking about the coaching. The coaching have become more and more sexual. I mean, it's just, I remember when my daughter was like 12, and the girls that were a little more advanced started putting bikini shots up on Instagram. And I was like, and it just seems to have exacerbated. I'm wondering, I read a study once that said that the average American boy sees pornography for the first time at the age of 11, and that most teenage boys are consuming it regularly. Are these girls being informed by what they think the boys want? I think it's probably part of it. I think just like, the old adage of women don't get dressed for men, they get dressed for themselves too. I think that's part of it as well. We get dressed for other women. We get dressed for other women. We get dressed for ourselves and for, that moment when we look in the mirror, like, I feel good, I look good today. So yes, I think we're thinking about what the boys like. But it's also, it can become part of the culture now. So we start off with the sexy photos and the bikini shots, and then it's the dance videos, provocative dancing. And now anything, which is, I mean, so do some of your abandoned girls who stay in your shelter support themselves with everything crazy? Well, I'll share with you that one of the things that we do at Hospital that's really unique and super important is that we ask our kids to hand over their phones. So, oh my goodness, why are not allowed in the shelter? And we want to disrupt all of that negativity that's taking place. It could be disrupting communication from a parent or a caregiver that's helpful. It could be disrupting communication from a dealer, from the individual that got used traffic. And then also a lot of kids are coming in with pornography addiction, addiction to social media, and all the reasons that we don't discuss that can be harmful. Well, again, let us hope that our daughters and sons don't get there. Uh, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the signs that a teenage girl or boy is suffering from depression. And let's talk about their dating relationship. What looks healthy, what looks unhealthy. Some of the things I know on the outside look like, oh, they're so cute together, they wear the same outfits all the time. Or he's so sweet whenever they have a little fight, he brings a teddy bear. And let's talk about how these kinds of situations can actually be red flags that something's going on in our kids' life. My guest is Jessica Hubbard. She serves the CEO of CASA Youth Shelters in Orange County. I remiss if I didn't say you have a master's degree in educational leadership and a Juris Doctor degree in emphasis on criminal law, and you've been working with youth for over 20 years. I'm grateful to hear. Let's continue this conversation when we come back. You are listening to the Dr. Wendy Wells Show on KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Right now, let's go to 24 hours KFI Newsroom and our very own Mark Garner.
The last car dealership run by Al Worthington changing its name. Worthington Ford in Long Beach will become BP Ford at the end of the month. I'm guessing no dog spot. And war German drama All Quiet on the Western Front has won 7 prizes, including Best Picture at the British Academy Film Awards, The Baptist, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. In a way, big winner at last night's 75th Annual Directors Guild of America Awards with Beverly Hilton, with Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert getting the Feature Film Award. We will look at the drive on the 210 right after this. Welcome to the Staff News live from the Hayes bedroom. It's another eventful night for the curious Ron King has been struggling with his feedback. His wife is now trying to big raise. The still throws an elbow. He's swinging for the couch. He's getting inspired. Absolutely, Bruce. Inspired to sleep apnea treatment to get a remote. There's no mask and no home. Guys. Learn more at InspiredSleep.com. Inspire is not for everyone. Talking about the sleep is right for you and review important safety information at InspiredSleep.com. Progressive commercial insurance. Flexible to fit your business needs. From quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance. Flexible to fit your business needs. From quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. SoCal weather partly cloudy tonight with lows in the mid-40s and down to mid-30s near on Empire and Antelope Valley. This report brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Now we're going to head to a crash on the 210. It is definitely a carpool kind of easy. On the D10 West Sunflower Avenue, that can go a door. There's crashes blocking the carpool left lane. And what's in Ladina, another crash gets at the carpool lane on the 10 West before into the avenue. It's got traffic filled at 2 Citrus Street. And East LA on the 60 West, after the 710, that's crash blocking the 2 right lanes. It's got the back of very heavy, almost deadlock traffic on the Atlantic Boulevard. Emergency crews are on the 2 here. And down the on-ramp to the 60 closed as well. And then I went down to 605 north before the 210. That's also crashing the carpool lane. Can't find the value of getting there faster. I'm Zachary Gagan. It's a hard to admit, but when I was in junior high school, I was bullied so badly, I cried. Hello, I'm John Acoyan, founder of Rooter Hero Plumbing. I was named O'Donnell after my grandfather, but as a kid, I was teased for having that name. So I changed it to John. John is the English version of O'Donnell, and it maintains the honor to my grandfather. My family and heritage are important to me, so staying true to myself and Rooter Hero Plumbing are important. Staying true to Rooter Hero Plumbing means being true to you and delivering world-class service. That's why my cell phone number is on the back of every Rooter Hero Plumbing business card. Call us at 866-37 for $77. That's 866-377.
down bed with angels and a giant snowman appearing in the dress. Don't miss their winter wonderland at the Palm Springs area of January. Snow is cheap. Visit psfamily.com. Contact the website number 391. Will you tell me how much to unstop my dinner? $99. Hey, how do you? What diamond? Love it, Holly. Just voted the LA Times 2022 Best of the South Center. Boy, I really like that you're up front and everything. I mean, I just called a guy named Rabbi who willing to tell me the cost over the phone. No brothers here, man. Just professional plumbers who show up on time, smell good, and unclogged drains for $99. Call us. 1-800-446-MIKE. Fans of the hit TV show Scandal can now revisit every episode on Unpacking the Toolbox, the Scandal Rewatch podcast, hosted by the cast members behind King Perkins and House. So, Gladiators, grab some James Burger, and revisit Scandal's most iconic OMG moment. We need to be like 110 degrees in a wool coat. Yeah. I mean, the freezing that was going on in my temple shirt, I think there's all the worst people. Listen to Unpacking the Toolbox, a Scandal Rewatch podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast. Attention Southern California, another massive rate increase. Declare your energy independence from the utility company. If you've ever thought about going solar, you must go solar right now. You can go solar with Temper Solar, your local and veteran-owned solar contractor. They'll get the job done with esprit de corps and honor. Imagine, no money out of pocket and no payments until 2024. That's no utility bill and no payments all year. Keep your money in your pocket and go solar American style with Temper Solar. Worried about blackouts? Tesla Powerwall and Enphase batteries are in stock. Call 877-211-5591. Not sure about your roof? Temper's and Owens Corning Platinum Preferred Contractor. Upgrade to Owens Corning 50-year warranty for free. Grab the 30% solar federal tax credit. $500 downloadable coupon. $500 off for military and first responders. Plus, 0 down, 0% interest and 0 payments until 2024. For all offers, call 877-211-5591 or visit tempersolaris.com. On Group Residence, Drive 220 and 2023. DSW number 978-152. Dennis Torres said he lost 25 pounds listening to the show. He put his headphones on and walked for 2 hours a night to listen to the show. He lost 25 pounds. You know, so you can also lose weight by listening to the show. The Tim Conway Jr. Show. You just have to put headphones on and start walking around. Live 4 to 7 p.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app. So my special guest, Jessica Hubbard, is the CEO of Casa Youth Shelter, a shelter for sadly children who have been abandoned, teenagers, trafficked, and plenty of teenagers who have had bad, hurting relationships. Now we talked about all the whys. Let's talk about the signs. What do parents need to look for, Jessica, when their teenagers start dating? Yeah, there's a few things that you can look for. So the red flags, as we call them. I would be particularly aware of an overprotective partner. And you might first think that that's really sweet. Oh, they care so much. It can go too far. And that starts to look like control behind the scenes. And that's how it can show up. I would be observable of a repeated cycle of breakup and repair. Yes, I say that all the time. You will see these people who like get addicted to the repair part or the makeup step, the makeup time, because there's so much tuning, love in that cycle, right? So that begins the cycle of domestic violence. Because there's arrows up, and then there's something bad that happens. It may not be physical violence, and there's emotional abuse, etc. And then there's the remorse and the shame, and the perpetrator has to reel the person back in by love bombing them. Exactly. Look out for that love bombing. And you can look for that as a parent, and you'll notice if you see your kiddo really down and upset, you can ask those questions. I haven't seen you smiling in a while. What's going on? And you don't want to say, did you break up? Don't show them to jump right in. But just kind of soft introduce what's going on. You look unhappy. Is everything okay? And they'll let you and they'll start to clue you in over time what's going on, and you can see if is it going through that cycle. Is too close ever a problem? Too close with that partner? Yes. Another one of those big red flags is that partner that insists on going to all of those outings. You're So if they can't have that separate time with their friend group and they're always there, that's probably control. That's probably not healthy. And it might start off as, oh, we just can't be apart, we're just attached to the hip. I would be aware of what's going on really there. If they don't want to let them out of their sight, that's control showing up. I want to remind parents, as I remind all dating adults, even married adults, that a relationship is like a Venn diagram, two overlapping circles. So there is something in the middle that is shared, and that shared thing is an exchange of care. That care can take so many forms, right? It can be instrumental care, someone sick, run to the Walgreens and get them something, or make them some cooking soup. It can be obviously sexual care, that's the way we care for each other. In some marriages, it's financial care, that's fine, domestic care, child care, there's emotional support, intellectual stimulation. But those two circles don't completely overlap. In order to have a healthy relationship, you have to have some economy of time to grow. So you say that if parents see that their teenage girl is letting go of all her other girlfriends, she's just hanging out with him, this is it is if they're, distancing themselves from their core friend group, or if that partner insists on joining them for all of those outings. Something that, the girlfriend's birthday out, why is the partner there? Why is he introducing himself? Or hanging out with that friend group, also a problem. Or even some of the family that you create distance themselves from the family. And in the beginning of a relationship, in that honeymoon phase, we know that, yeah, there's some cocooning, there's humor, that's it. It's right. They shouldn't be not able to spend time with their friends as a result of the cycle. Now, the problem is that care looks like, or control looks like care. And when it becomes control, how is this psychologically and potentially physically dangerous? Because, and this is why this is all of these warning signs. It's not just warning signs for physical violence, but emotional violence, or emotional abuse. So we want to look out for all of this because there's a heavy overlap. And it rarely starts off as physical violence. It usually starts off with an emotional abuse or some control issues, and then moving into that. I can share stories from my very first boyfriend. This is it. This is real life. And I flew up in Miami. I was putting on my white mini skirt to go out, and my boyfriend let me know that you could see my underwear here. You could see the underwear line. So you're not wearing that out. But excuse me, what do you mean I'm not wearing it? I will not let you wear this out. So there's a difference between, oh wow, you can kind of see your underwear through that. I don't know how to do it for you. Yeah, how do you feel about that? And I won't permit you to wear that out. So control, not so good. You should have a response or reaction to that. I can still remember how I felt at 18 years old, how that felt when it showed up for me. That control. I think this is not okay for me. This is going to be a deal breaker for me. So I encourage our young girls that might be listening and thinking, when you feel that sting or that control, that's your first warning sign. It is. And at that moment, you have to get over any feelings of fear of abandonment. Because what happens is, at the early stages of the relationship, for anybody in the age, somebody who has, people who are controlling their, they're actually afraid they're going to lose you. So what they do is they test the boundaries little by little. And so it's like that boiling frog in the warm water. And so it's slowly boiling, when you realize you got there, right? And so at that first test, that's where you have to put the boundary out. You can't wait. If you're like, oh, well, I just met them, and it seems so nice. Maybe I'll just wait. I'll let this one go. It's that. It's dangerous. Right? And it shows up, like you're saying, as care. Oh, they just care about me so much. They just don't want to see you get hurt. Or sometimes they might dress it up. I don't want someone to hurt you when you go out dressed like that. Well, yeah, that's right. So it's like protection. Yeah, that's protection. Right? I don't know if you saw, but one of my viral TikTok videos was me telling a story that one time I dated a guy and we went to the Caribbean for a vacation. It was my business trip, so he paid for his own plane ticket, but he got this these are my hotel rooms, everything was paid for by the company I was working for. And when I checked out at the hotel, starting for the mini bar, I went to the credit card for, I noticed that there were two shirts purchased from the post office. And I saw him wearing one. And he put them, signed them to come to the room. So I didn't see anything because it was so new. We'd only been seeing each other like a month. I was so into him. Fast forward 9 years later, and he fraudulently wrote himself a check for $200,000. Okay? So we just like you just let it, and there was some little things in between. Like I noticed my FedEx account was being used all the time for FedExes, and I never had the bravery to say, "Hey, that's a boundary." Because oh, he leaves, he leaves, right? And I'm telling you, I didn't come to this place just with boundaries intact. The reason why I've been obsessed with the science of love is because I had these boundaries, because I had an anxious attachment stuff. I had to get a PhD in clinical psychology just to heal myself. And so I want to share with everyone my experience so that they, and especially when it comes to our fathers and our girls. Let's talk about these small children. When does the conversation start with small kids? Starts very, very early. My daughter has known what consent means since she can talk and understand. And that's where we started. And that's where I encourage all parents to begin. What does consent mean? And so that when she comes home from school and says, so and so touched her on the playground, and she didn't like it, and we have that conversation, and we were like, was that a consensual touch? Did you give them permission to touch your shoulder or grab your arm? And then go think about it. No, they didn't have my permission. Right? So then they cross the boundary. And we can start setting up. Even 5-year-olds can understand those words. Even 3-year-olds can. Absolutely. Start early, start young, and it's not too late. If you haven't had those conversations with a 15-year-old, that's okay. You can start now. Because they're fast learners. And that's something that everyone can understand, that we have boundaries, that we don't want crossed, and we set these lines. And you know where kids learn the boundaries with parents who have the boundaries. So when parents say things like simply like, I'm sorry, you don't make me have a cookie before dinner, 2-year-old. Then when you flip it around and say, if that person has permission to do that, they get it. If you're like, I understand what giving permission is because my parents modeled the communication and the boundaries. So it's a pleasure to have you here. If people want to find out more about Pastor Reed's lesson with the Dojo website, please find us at www.pastorreedconsulting.org. I have to share that part of the work we're doing is not just for youth in crisis, it's for all kids and for families as well, because I have counseling services for those that are not in-house or residents of our programs. If you want to facilitate the healing, the reunification, and positive communication skills, and I'm listening to the nonprofit and permission. We absolutely do. Thanks for being here. When we come back, I am really going now. 8 toxic phrases if they're spoken in your love relationship, could be doomed. And it's funny. You're listening to the Dr. Wendy Wallstone. 5 AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Right now, let's do the 24-hour KFI news with our very own Mark Browner. KFI. KOST HD2. Los Angeles, Orange County. Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Investigating the death of an LA bishop. I'm Mark Browner, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. LA County Sheriff's detectives are trying to figure out why an auxiliary bishop with the Archdiocese of LA has been shot and killed at his home in Hacienda Heights. The Los Angeles County Bishop of the Catholic Church is dead, found shot and killed in Hacienda Heights on Saturday. We had a threat to the public. We're very early in the investigation, so we do not believe there's any threat to the public. Chief Justice Michael Mosquito says that Bishop David O'Connell was found shot in the Courtville on Saturday afternoon inside of his home. The public is now searching for answers. His character, he loved that, with his protection, wherever he was going, he was able to O'Connell has served as a priest and bishop for 45 years. Reporter Ryan Baker says O'Connell was 59 years old and originally from Ireland. A massive remembrance was held this morning to mark the 20th anniversary of the Station nightclub fire. The fire in West Warwick on February 20th, 2003 killed 100 people and injured 200 more. The fire started during a concert at the nightclub on the show's pyrotechnics display ignited the foam used for soundproofing. The search and rescue team from LA County Sheriff's Department has returned from the scene of that massive earthquake in Turkey. Mike Leon says hours after the quake, he reached out to the Turkish consulate, which got the ball rolling on that end. But since the whole team is made up of volunteers, you had to figure out how to get over there and where to stay. We got in touch with a buddy at UPS who worked it out with one of their vendors. They arranged for us to get top flights red tips from Turkish Airlines. They were super excited to be able to fly us over there. And then I raised private money
You pay for hotels and incidental like car rentals and stuff like that. Ian remembers last Saturday when he got their first assignment from Turkish officials and he recorded the experience. And so we go to that location and sure enough, there was a woman voice, you could hear under deep under the rubber. And then during this process, trying to get access to her, then the second voice was heard. That it was this woman's son, who was 18 years old. So after about 4 hours, we finally got both of them out. What was that scene like? Pretty much what we were anticipating. It was kind of like almost like an Armageddon kind of thing. We had nothing but huge piles of rubble where there used to be 15-story apartments. The team spent 7 days there and rescued 3 people. They all used their own personal vacation time to go. These Gregory Kingafiners. 9 kids have been shot at a gas station in Columbus, Georgia. Police say officers were dispatched to a shell station around 10 Friday night and found the kids shot. The oldest was 17, the youngest was 5. All are expected to be okay. It's unclear what led to the shooting. Shooters got away. The team had a close call on a catamaran during an international sailing competition yesterday. Great Britain's Matt Dodwell went overboard during the Sail Grand Prix in Australia's Sydney Harbour. Fully backwards and I was in the water pretty quick. Dodwell fell through an opening while still tethered to the craft and was dragged. The scary moment was caught on a catamaran-mounted camera. I just wanted to get my father finished the race. Dodwell says his teammates quickly pulled him back on board and continued with the race. Officials canceled the second day of racing after high winds destroyed several boats. Michael Muhammad, KFI News. We're going to check out a crash on the 60. Heading to Atlanta 60 West after the 710, that's the crash ticket to Key Right Lane. Emergency crews are soon the backup traffic from Atlanta's Boulevard, and the Downey on-ramp is closed in that area as well. And a few crashes on the 10, the first one westbound before Azusa Avenue, crash ticket to Carswell left lane, and West Covina executive access to 6th Street. On the other side of the 10 eastbound, of course, the Canela Avenue, the Monogram, that's a crash moving to the right shoulder. It's still away from 20th Street. And Rancher Center Margarita on the 221 North Ocean Parkway. After car fire in the Middle East, it's down to Las Patrones at the end of the 241. And we also on the turn east at, here's the spoiler, Riverside Avenue. There we go. That's that blocking the off-ramp there. KFI the Staten City there faster. I'm Zachary Dagan. You've heard this saying, pay wise, pound foolish, right? You do something that saves a little bit right now, pennies, but it ends up costing you big time in the end, pounds. This is Leland Smith, founder of Service Champion Plumbing, Heating, and Main Street, and we see this all the time. People putting off paying up their rent because they don't want to take the time to spend the money to get it done. So it only takes about 90 minutes and costs just $88. It's just pennies compared to the huge problems and expenses that can rack up if you don't get your furniture done. You'll also save money on your energy bills, and your system will last longer. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Call Service Champion for a precision furnace finish today. Our number is 833-777-7777 or find us online at servicechampions.com. Southland weather from KFI, partly cloudy tonight. We'll get down to mid-40s, down to mid-30s in the Inland Empire and Antelope Valley. President's Day tomorrow, sunny with highs in the mid-60s at the beaches, around 70 most other places. This week we have a chance of rain this starts Wednesday, and we should have rain all the way through next weekend. Right now it's 56 in Fuller, 54 in Mission Viejo, 57 in Gardena, 46 in Palmdale. We lead local, live from the KFI 24-hour news airline Mark Ross. Dr. Wendy Wells for you. This is the Dr. Wendy Wells show. All right. Thank you so much for being here with me. And new time slot, 7 to 9 p.m. every Sunday night. I'm known as America's relationship expert. I have a PhD in clinical psychology. I'm a psychology professor at Cal State Channel Islands. And I've written 3 books on relationships. And I'm obsessed with the science of love. I read an interesting article this week written by a Harvard-trained psychologist named Dr. Courtney Warren. In fact, producer Kayla, I want you to try to get this woman on our show because I think she's a really great book out called Letting Go of 8 Different Phrases. But if you say that
regularly in your relationship could forecast you. And some of these things, a lot of us say all the time. So let's get to it. You ever heard this one? You don't deserve me. Or you're lucky that I even put up with you. What does that mean? You might be angry, but what if I'm better than you and I don't even want to stay in this relationship? It can really hurt your partner's self-esteem. And you're not going to get anywhere in the relationship. If all you're doing is putting down your relationship, I want to remind everybody that you don't keep score. This isn't about one person winning and one person losing. The winner of every argument in a relationship should be the relationship. So what might you say instead? Well, you might have a heated moment. And you might think in that moment, I'm better than this person. This person is behaving so badly. They don't deserve me. So how would you word that? Well, you could say something like, right now, I'm looking at you, and you're less valuable than me, and I really need to work on it. Boom! Save the relationship. It's about you and your feelings, right? Because that's really what's happening. All right, here's another one, according to this Harvard-trained psychologist. Toxic phrases that shouldn't happen in your love relationship. Stop asking me if I'm okay. Everything's fine. Did you hear my tone of voice? Did everything sound fine when I said it? It's not fine. So just keep saying to the person, stop asking if I'm okay. Everything's fine. What you're saying is, I'm being smothered. This is intrusive. I can't even let you in to my personal feelings, which is rejecting. It's okay to say, you know what? I'm just really upset right now, and I'm not ready to talk about it yet. It's honest, it's real, but it's not snappy and it's sarcastic. It's not like, stop asking me if I'm okay, everything's fine. How about, okay, I'm pretty upset right now, but I'm not ready to talk about it. So give me some time. That's a healthy way to communicate in your relationship. All right, how about this one? I hate you. If you've ever said that in one of your deepest, intimate, close relationships, why? I would say that you're not even talking about that person. You're talking about some early childhood event and this person's now the new convenient object in some way. But even when you're in a heated, emotional moment, it's still healthy to say something like, I'm having a hard time being around you right now. Or I need to take some time to calm down. Think about yourself, your needs, your feelings. I hate you. How can you come back to love after that? How can you make repair after that? The person thinking, oh yeah, they say they love me now. They hated me yesterday. Right? Here's one I've actually heard say to me before. My ex loves to put me down. You're a bad mother, he used to say. Or he'd say, you're a bad parent. First of all, let me say this, that two people, when they have a child together, this nonverbal infant is completely dependent on you, first care, on both of you. Both parents stand over that cradle and imagine, project onto them the experiences they might have had as a baby themselves. Actually, my therapist taught me that. She was like, oh wait, when your baby hits this age, I bet he's going to have this feeling because that happened to him at this age. I was like, whoa, and it was like she could read the future. So we project onto this baby our feelings, our experiences. Nobody really knows 100% what that baby is. And what do we do if we think the other person isn't giving the baby the baby inside us? What they need? We say you're a bad parent, right? How about when somebody's struggling with parenting, and we all lose it once in a while. All moms yell, all dads yell. It's not about whether conflict happens, it's about how you make repair, how you work things through. But what about if you say something like, I see this situation here is really triggering me, and maybe it's bringing up some stuff from the past. I think the worst thing you can say is, you're a bad mother because your mother was a bad mother. Or you're spoiling that kid because you were spoiled. That's terrible. Okay, Another toxic phrase you probably should say in your relationship. You're crazy. You're crazy. You know, what what it does is it gaslights the person. It makes them question their own sense of reality, right? It manipulates, it twists reality. Um, some people say, you're delirious, or this is way in your head. Or what guys used to say to me, you're overthinking it. You know, because I was kind of intellectual and I was really analyzing everything going on and trying to make sense of it. You're overthinking it. He's probably smart enough to come back with, yeah, you're underthinking it. All right? But you don't want to question somebody's mental health. Here's another one that happens all the time, and I see it on social media. People put these posts. He's so needy. He's so needy. They're so needy. You are so needy. What does this language really mean? That somebody's emotional needs are not valid? If you read the book Attached, you know what the authors of Attached say? That if you meet a needy person, go towards them. Meet their needs. Give them what they need and they calm down. But what do we do when we meet somebody who has strong emotional needs? We withdraw. And what does that do? Wind them up even more. What you could say, if you are feeling smothered and engulfed by this person, is, I can really see that you want my attention right now, but I'm feeling so suffocated, I need a little bit of space. Right? So you validate them and their feelings. I see that you need my attention. I see that you need my care right now. But I'm feeling totally suffocated here. I just need a little bit of space. That's honest, right? And the last toxic phrase that probably shouldn't happen in your relationship. It's over. My boyfriend and I always joke. I said, one of these days, one of us is going to say, enough. That's our word. Enough. It's a joke. If you don't, it doesn't sound anything to say enough about. But if you threaten to end the relationship, if you throw around the divorce word cavalierly, the breakup word all the time, then you're you're taking away the very fabric of trust in your relationship. So you can say, I'm just really upset right now. I need a moment. I need a break. When you're upset with your partner, I want you to look at your own feelings. That's what I do. I just look at myself. I'm like, what am I experiencing? It's always a good idea to use I statements. And one of the things I love to teach people is the communication form. It starts out with a layer of love, so they stay open, followed by a layer of something really hard to chew on, and it's backed up with another layer of love. So a compliment, so they're not defensive, then a gentle criticism, and then backed up with another compliment. That is the best way to have healthy communication. The other thing I want to say is, don't apologize. Just say you're sorry. If you are, you're good. All right, when we come back, I am taking your calls from my drive-by Mississippi relationship advice. Uh, the number is 1-800-520-1534. That's 1-800-520-1KFI. Give me a call and let me weigh in on your love life. It would be my honor. You're listening to the Dr. Wendy Walsh Show on KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Right now, let's go to the 24-hour KFI newsroom and Mark Warner.
Have investigations continuing after a woman fell to her death at Disneyland at the Mickey and Friends parking structure. Actor Tom Sizemore is hospitalized in critical condition after suffering a brain aneurysm at his home in Los Angeles. And actor and comedian Richard Belzer, best known as Detective Munch on the Law and Order TV show, died at 78. I can't repeat his final words on the air, but you can look them up. A rebel to the end. We'll look at some trouble on the 170 when we come back. I'm Martin Hope, the inventor of Navage nasal care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter. This Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergies, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like tests, quote, my doctor wanted me to use saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. They're nice when I have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver. Unquote. He's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage. The all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life. Trouble on the 170. And that's only one of the 170 salvage soon way after people find 17 right on blockade. Fire crews were on the scene near the White River trying to put that out. The West Covina on the New West before through the avenue, stop traffic in 60th Street, crash block in the carpool left lane. In East LA 60 West after the 710 at the crash traffic through wide lanes block. Traffic is dead going into the Atlantic Boulevard area. And emergency crews are on the scene and down the Broadway at the 50th Street as well. In the Mission Hill, we're going to find north after San Fernando Mission Boulevard. That's a cell block in the carpool intersection back up from Brand to Boulevard. Can't find the sign of the year faster. I'm Zachary Kagan. This report is sponsored by Compassion International. Drought, war, and rising food prices have doubled the number of families facing malnutrition. You can help. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646. At every fitness, no way to what you can try with your 3-day free pass. Sign up today at startlafitness.com. From cycling to swimming, running to rowing, battle ropes to box jump. When you join LA Fitness, it opens the door to amenities with Olympic lifting platforms, basketball courts, pools, and more. Start a new day resolution. So get your pass today. Come into one of our hundreds of locations or join online with our latest offers. Grab your free 3-day pass at startlafitness.com. That's startlafitness.com. And these days, allocations for communities may be available for this monthly. Free 3-day passes are available by non-members only. Other restrictions apply. Require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if the prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. Website for full details or safety information. Prescription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase. Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper and you can get it online? Go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation and a free kidney if prescribed. Love your results or your money back. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHINS.com/JOY. Featherboa, sparkling mask, yep. Just need the gumbo and jambalaya from Pescado, and I'm set for Fat Tuesday and Wednesday. And now the top 5 reasons to visit Morongo. Number 5. President's Day Dining Deal. Enjoy delicious deals at Goodbye Cafe, Chia Pescado, and Big Coffee, February 20th. Number 4. George Clinton, March 3rd. Get tickets now. 3. My Day Giveaway. Okay. You can win up to a visit free time. Just use the reward card Friday, noon to 8 p.m. with playing your favorite slot. And the number 2. Swipe and win. Get up to $100 cash when you earn 500 points on your reward card. Race season Thursday. And the number 1 reason. Day gift giveaway. Get a pair of cards gathered in gold when you earn 500 points on your reward card on the 21st. Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Morongo. Good time. Could you use monthly payments to help me pay for fees? Like putting food on the table, paying the rent, or buying new seeds for growing seeds? Find out about supplemental security income. You may qualify if your income and financial resources are low and you are 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability or who's blind. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go to ssa.gov/SSI. Produced by Social Security, U.S. Taxpayers Trust. Attention Southern California, another massive rate increase. Declare your energy into from the utility company. If you've ever thought about going solar, you must go solar right now. You can go solar with Separate Solaris, your local and veteran-owned solar contractor. They'll get the job done with esprit de corps and honor. Imagine, no money out of pocket and no payments until 2024. That's no utility bill and no payments all year. Keep your money in your pocket and go solar American style with Separate Solaris. Worried about blackouts? Tesla Powerwall and Enphase batteries are in stock. Call 877-211-5591. Not sure about your roof? Tempers and Owens Corning Platinum Preferred Contractor. Upgrade to Owens Corning 50-year warranty for free. Grab the 30% solar federal tax credit. $500 downloadable coupons, $500 off for military and first responders. Plus, 0 down, 0% interest and 0 payments until 2024. For all offers, call 877-211-5591 or visit SeparatesSolaris.com. On through credit expired 2/20/2023. TSW number 978-150. Wake up call with Jennifer Jones. I get up at 2:45 so that you can sleep in until 4:59 so that you're ready to go for wake up call. Live 5 to 6 a.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app. Do not fail, do not trouble. You have Dr.
So I take your calls and I answer your questions on social media. If you'd like to call in, the number is 1-800-520-1KFI. That's 1-800-520-1534. Remember, I do not have a license to practice therapy. This sure isn't therapy. This is drive-by makeshift relationship advice from somebody who knows a lot of stuff. Jamie, who do we have?
You got Mary.
Mary. Hi, Mary. It's Dr. Wendy. Mary? Are you there? There you are. Yeah, hello. Hi. What's your question, love? Well, all those things you were saying, like negative comments you put in the face to somebody in your love relationship, I'm the recipient of all those comments, and I don't know how to deal with it. I try to be positive. I recognize you have a lot of unresolved issues for this childhood. Mm-hmm. You wanted me to go to counseling because of me, and that's one. And then you're going back, and I go to counseling. Oh, you do? I do, but I get my self-esteem and self-respect from everybody else, from my job, from my other family members, not from myself. Yeah, it sounds like the work that you and your counselor have been doing together have been about learning to raise your self-esteem through these other social relationships. And sometimes that can be a really good strategy, is getting your self-esteem from your work and other relationships, and deciding whether this romantic relationship is the one for you forever. And that's something that you and your therapist can work on together, because, if we're in a relationship hoping to change somebody else, I will tell you that never, ever, ever works. We can change our reaction to somebody else. We can change our feelings about that, but we can't actually change them. And so understanding that we can get self-esteem from our other relationships, that we don't have to put all our emotional eggs in one basket, is a good strategy. And I highly recommend that you stay in therapy. So thank you for calling, Mary. I really appreciate it. Okay, let me go to social, because there, this is kind of topic. People are typing. Okay. Dear Dr. Wendy, if you date someone and their actions start to make you anxious, would this be considered an anxious attachment, or is this a sign of being triggered and taking it as a red flag? Well, it could be both. I mean, I can't diagnose whether you get an anxious attachment, so that's for you and your therapist. But I will say this, wondering if the question, the underlying question that you're asking is the question that I get all the time. Is it me or is it them? Basically, do I have an anxious attachment style? Is that why I'm feeling so much anxiety? Or are they just a bad person and I shouldn't be with them? And I always say feelings are messengers, and those messengers you can take right into the doctor's office, because that's where you take that apart. I had a supervisor once who said to me, I was talking about his things, she said, well, because I said, I think it's him. I don't think it's her and her anxious attachment. I think he's actually doing these things. And she said, the greatest thing, she said, you know what? People always find something to hang their hat on. And what she meant was, it's always both. That the person might have an anxious attachment style, but they'll go and unconsciously be attracted to somebody who has an avoidance attachment style, who feels easily smothered by them, who's constantly running away from them, that triggers them, and there goes the cycle, right? So it's always a little bit of both. But how do you change? You take those feelings that are a messenger, and you go into therapy, and you talk it out, and you find out what it's connected to early in life. Why? I went through this. This was when I had an anxious attachment style, 3 years to deal, and I was in therapy for like 18 years. Okay, I'm not saying you're going to get 18 years. It's be a long time, but I had stuff to work out. Okay, I like it. But one of the things I finally came to realize is that it was me during the season, and that I was spending too much time trying to analyze others instead of trying to analyze why I was there. And I'd ask myself, how does somebody with a secure attachment style behave? They move away from that person. They're thinking those feelings. They have no problem with that. All right, so here we go.
You got Ned.
Ned, N-E-D?
N-E-D.
N-E-D, did I say that right? Hi, Ned, it's Dr. Wendy. So Dr. Wendy, so I have an issue, I guess, with this I have a kid right now with my wife, and also, I'm sorry? How old is the child? 5. 5, okay. Yeah. So yeah, I have already a kid with my wife. She wants to have 3 altogether. I told her that perhaps, that doesn't sound too bad to have 3. But I want her to wait a little bit. She's 27. I want her to wait a little bit so she's closer to around the age of 35 because of the hormonal changes that women go through. They have that excited momentum of themselves where they want to, have kids right before they can no longer produce any more eggs. So I want her to wait a little bit closer to that. Do you think that's the right plan? If it were me, I would say, the research I read is that the younger the better biologically. The height of female fertility is actually the age of 20, right? And it hovers around there through the 20s, takes a little dive at 30, falls off a cliff at 35. It's
Thank you so much. Yes, what I'm shocked that it's very important, and I wanted to really follow up on what Brian had said. I find this topic very, very interesting, and so just one moment, and I put this in the chat as well. Exactly what was discussed with the Galactic Federation for Latin America. Just one moment. Some other things. Some other things topics I put in there about grouping, some other things about alien disclosure, the Galactic Federation, and there's all kinds of things. So I really want to say, Brian, you're really well versed on this, and this is really the cutting edge of where we're at in ufology. So what you said, and this is around 2020, I believe, the Galactic Federation, Confederation of Advanced Civilizations, Pacific Parts of the Galaxy, members of the Federation have been in contact with humans for decades, and possibly even centuries. The Galactic Federation has a base on Mars, which is currently inhabited by both extraterrestrial and human personnel. Your guess is as good as mine, however. The Mars base is used for scientific research as well as diplomatic and strategic purposes. The Galactic Federation has been monitoring Earth's development for a long time and has been involved in various events throughout human history. The Galactic Federation is concerned about humanity's future and is actively working to help us avoid catastrophic events like nuclear war, climate change, and other global crises. The Galactic Federation has advanced technology that allows them to travel faster than the speed of light as well as manipulate space and time. Members of the Galactic Federation are highly intelligent and wise and have a deep understanding of universal information. The Galactic Federation has a council that is responsible for making important decisions regarding their interactions with Earth and other civilizations, and members of the Galactic Federation communicate telepathically and can use advanced technology to communicate with them. So it's just a really, really interesting thing. If anybody else has anything on the Galactic Federation, I'm always willing to listen to more about it. But really, it seems like a really interesting topic, and connecting that to disclosure. And once you have disclosure, if there is disclosure or whatever it is, then from there, once you're disclosed that you're not alone, well, who else is there? And that's the Galactic Federation. And that's why that discussion is so exciting to me, because that's some specifics of that. And if you were to ask me as a prediction, I think we'll see it by the year 2033. Why? I just see this slow disinformation and slow campaign that for the last really like 70 years of different types of media and everything from these to ET to 1950s television shows. I mean, really, whatever it is, you've been seeing it for a long time. So that people become more and more comfortable with the fact that there may be other types of alien races out there, and it's not as it doesn't scare them. And additionally, perhaps it doesn't disturb the economy. Like Brian keeps saying, that the people who control this are the people who control the economy. And first and foremost, they want to make sure that the economy is the major test. And I put a list of reasons in the chat as well, as I tweeted a list of reasons why alien discourse hasn't had specifically been several times. Thank you for letting me know. The collection has always blocked like these two traffic stacks are pretty heavy from 243rd Street. I like your West Before you to Avenue, where it could be there, the scratch in the car for Wrestling. North Hollywood, 157 least the right shoulder kind of took it out. And then East LA on the 60 West after the 710. That's correct. The right lane's a block, and the guy the auto accident is through close as well. So if I in the sky, I'll see you there faster. I'm Zachary Hagan. Someone uses your toilet and it overflows. Can you imagine how embarrassing that is for your guests and for you? Hello, I'm John Cornyn, founder of Root Zero Plumbing. You're hosting a party, the water's on the floor, and your guests have to tell you that the toilet is backed up. And worst of all, you have to tell your guests that they can't use the bathroom. I shudder when I tell this story because it happened to me. Can you imagine? I own Root Zero Plumbing and my toilet overflows. Talk about being humble. Well, the truth is, it could happen to anyone. And the solution is to call 866-DRAIN-77. That's what I did, and our plumber was here within the hour. Not because I'm the owner, but that's just what we do. I'm so confident that you'll be satisfied with our services that I put my cell phone number on every business card. 866-DRAIN-77. That's 866-DRAIN-77. Still playing with us from KFI Private Cloudy tonight, and we're going to get down to the mid-40s, down to the mid-30s in the Inland Empire and Antelope Valley. President's Day tomorrow should be sunny with highs in the mid-60s at the beaches and around 70 in Metro LA, OC, the Valleys, Inland Empire. This week we got a chance of rain starting Wednesday, and we could have rain all the way through next weekend. Right now it's 56 in Tustin, 54 in Garden Grove. We read local, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Mark Ron. Diet food, quality sleep is vital to your mental, emotional, and physical health. The sleep number 360 Quad Bed dampens your movement and automatically adjusts to help keep you both effortlessly comfortable. And it's extra balancing. You stay cool. So you're your best for yourself and those who care about most. Sleep, only for Sleep Number. It's our President's Day special. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition Quad Bed, plus free home delivery when you're at an adjustable base. And Monday. To learn more, go to Sleep Number. Contact the license number 39917. Will you tell me how much to unstop my journey? $99. Hey, RBA. My journey, the brother calling. Just voted the LA Times 2022 Best of the Southland. I really like that you're up front and everything. I mean, I just called a guy named here and tell me the cost over the phone. No brothers here, ma'am. Just professional plumbers who show up on time, smell good, and unclogged drains for $99. Call us. It's Central Night First. The curious Ron Steve has been struggling with his feedback. His wife in the cell is trying to he's a lady, but still throws an elbow. He's waiting for the couch. He should get inspired. Absolutely, Bruce. Inspires with sleep apnea treatment that gives you comfortable, restful sleep with the click of a remote. There's no mask and no hose. John. Learn more at inspiredsleep.com. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to sleep and review important safety information at inspiresleep.com. Diet, sleep transmission fluid. Seriously? Yours is just flexible. We all know how these get to you. Go to the wrong place for car repair. That engine light is on again. So don't risk it. Take your car to the experts at AMCO. AA, MCO. Check engine light on? We'll check it for free. Restrictions, limitations, and exclusions may apply. See AMCO.com for complete details. This is Jacob Emerald. If you've been in a truck accident, call 844-24-JACOB. For official rules and more information about context of this station, go to KFIAM640.com/rules. If we watch out for everybody who's mentally ill in this country and we do a good job of following the mentally ill and making sure that other people, our gun problems will be over. Okay, now what? Let's move on to something important. We'll handle how many in-and-out burgers are going to be allowed in a given city. That is an issue. Live 6 to 9 a.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app. All happiness, please stop there. There's a time when the one was the heart. It's Thursday, and the baby, and the baby set it out. And the baby right there in that wall. KFI, AM 640, you have Dr. Wendy Walsh with you. This is the Dr. Wendy Walsh Show. I am taking your calls and answering your social media questions. Who do we have? We got Nick. Nick. I make it Dr. Wendy. Hi, can you hear me? I certainly can. What's the question? So me and my partner, we got two foster children last August, and that was it was an emergency placement if I need to meet the nephew. now, I haven't been home for the past like 4 days because I just can't stand being around her. She just doesn't do anything. She's not going to work, and basically it's using her in a situation. Wow. Okay, so you have anything. She's not going to work, and basically it's using her in a situation. Wow. Okay, so you have, how are these situations with the foster children, or did you get them permanently? It's temporary for now. It might get permanently soon, but for now it's temporary. We got the newborn at 2 weeks. She's got 7 months, and his older sister is 2 years old, a little over 2 years old. So of course that was kind of like a hiccup, but that's a big deal. That's a huge, giant life change. And these are family members of his or yours? These are my niece and nephew. Ah. But they have to remind me that when things get kind of upset. Okay, so Nick, I just want to say, having been somebody who runs away from my problems, it never seems to make things better. And I know that you're feeling overwhelmed by all this. This is more than a hiccup. This is a giant, major life change for a very long period of time, maybe. And I also want to remind you that all families struggle when they have small children and newborns in the house, whether they give birth to them or not. It is the hardest time in any relationship, the most hard time, because everybody's worried about the kids, everybody's overtired, and now you've got this added piece of another human in the house that you didn't expect. So my suggestion is to find a way to talk to your partner and have even So my suggestion is to find a way to talk to your partner and have even some family counseling together, so that those mothers feel alone in their little thoughts of their minds. That's like a couple weeks. So I need you to go back, take a deep breath, and get into some family counseling if you can, but find a way to work this through. I know he's reminding you that these are your relatives, but it's you and your partner, and you've taken on this together, and I know you ran away, because I know it feels like a lot, but you're going to have to go back and talk it out at some point. That's what I had to do in my relationship. I was always around there. Oh my gosh. Nick, I'm so sorry. My heart goes out to you. I know this is tough. Okay, heading to social media. Dear Dr. Wendy, I am single and want love. I am a woman in my 20s. What can I put out there to show that I'm available? This is one of my favorite questions, because I'll tell you what you think without all the Q&A. I mean, I know you want to compete with all those women on Instagram and all those sexy pictures on dating apps. But I'm telling you, I posted TikTok videos that I said, ladies, if you know on every first date what's going on in his mind, is he's asking himself this question: am I going to make my life tonight, or am I going to get to have sex? Literally, all these men, thousands and thousands of men, wrote, yep, that's it. They are literally wired. If you read the work of David Buss, an evolutionary psychologist who's done work cross-culturally around the world, he will say that men are wired to have a sexual double standard, which means they, they get looked at as great for sexual experience, and women get generic ones. And so women think, well, if all these other women are sexy, I'm going to put sexy pictures in my profile. But that will make me physically attracted to you, but maybe not attracted to you as a long-term man. So my first suggestion is, if you have one body shot in your profile, and be it in a bathing suit, and be it a full length, and don't be it too done. But the next thing is, and this is also the work of David Buss, is men who are looking for a long-term relationship are looking for loyalty, trust, and kindness. So how do you showcase loyalty, trust, and kindness in a few words in a dating profile? You show pictures of you with your nieces and nephews. You talk about the volunteer work that you do. You talk about the commitment you have to your pet, whatever. That is going to work a whole lot better than just saying, just the stuff that you think men want to do. Okay? I do want to also say
So when you're on your dating app, consider the process of elimination. Don't be afraid. Just swipe away, swipe away, swipe away, swipe away. If they do anything, spot, it'd be like a text page. Because they're not a real relationship. But I also recommend that you get on the phone very quickly so that you can do some assessment and get in the real world. Okay, moving on. This one's on Instagram. Other if you want to follow me on social media, it's at Dr. Wendy Walsh, at DR Wendy Walsh. Okay, here we go. Dear Dr. Wendy, my boyfriend of 6 months will not have sex with me. I've tried, and I'm rejected time and time again. I try to talk about it, and he says he just wants to wait for the right time. We've never had sex. What can I do? Well, let's just talk through. You can leave him or you can wait for the right time. I mean, you're not going to change him. I just want to say that. You can also continue to talk about your needs, your feelings of rejection perhaps, whatever, like, keep it on you. That's what I would do. I'd either wait for the right time or be like, I'm out of here because my needs aren't being met. And that, only you can make this decision. All right. If you like to follow me on social media and send me your questions, you certainly may. The handle everywhere is Dr. Wendy Walsh, at DR Wendy Walsh. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all over the place. Also, if you want to join me on Patreon, I do a live Zoom room every Wednesday night at 6:30. And for that, you go to patreon.com/Dr. Wendy Walsh. Patreon.com/Dr. Wendy Walsh. Okay, when we come back, 3 kinds of intelligence that makes for a good partner. You're looking through that? 3 kinds of intelligence. It's not what you think. It's not about book smart. You are listening to Dr. Wendy Walsh Show and KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Right now, let's go to the 24-hour newsroom and Mark Garner.
A substation fire that caused mass power outages in the Bay Area is out. Officials in Oakland say about 50,000 customers were affected by the blackout today after a transformer exploded. Well wishes and fond remembrances for former President Jimmy Carter were pouring in the day after he entered hospice care at his home in Georgia. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500 in double overtime and under caution, and its longest ever, with 2 overtimes pushing into a record 212 laps, which was 12 laps beyond the scheduled distance. We'll set some trouble on the 10 right after this. Yeah, visit QKCreative.org or call 833-422-4255. Now, you got to take your free COVID-19. Trust Travis California Department of Public Health. This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org. We got from the 10. What's going on? Again, let's support people out here that the fact they move to the right shoulder. And then also the Midwest, before Fraser Street was involved with Park, another crash that's been moved to the right shoulder. A car on the 110 north between Carson Street and George Boulevard that crashes up the 208 block, and traffic is deadlocked for the 223rd Street area. And then North Hollywood, the 150 South is Sherman Way, that's a vehicle fires at the 2 right lane block. The fire crews are near the right shoulder, trying to push Tuesday right now. Okay, if I'm trying to see you there faster, I'm Patrick Eggers.
This year is the year to learn a new language with Rosetta Stone. No matter what's inspiring you to learn a language, travel, work, family, or just for fun, the Rosetta Stone app makes it easy to get started and stay motivated to reach your goals. Right now, get a lifetime unlimited subscription with forever access to all 25 of Rosetta Stone's languages for 40% off. Visit rosettastone.com today and save 40%. Rosetta Stone, how language is learned.
I've been a small business person my entire adult life, and over the years, several HR issues I got millions. I could never afford an HR person, but there's an answer, Bambi.com. And with Bambi, you get an HR person starting at just $99 per month. And I thought this was too good to be true. This is real. Bambi helps you deal with your HR problems, like writing HR policies, sexual harassment training, hostile work, people complaining about other employees, all putting you and your business Bambi, you get access to your own dedicated HR manager available by phone, email, real-time chat. Go to Bambi.com, type in KFI under the radio drop-down when you sign up. Bambi.com, that's KFI under the radio drop-down. I want the credit, please. Spelled BAM, B-E-E, that's BAM, B-E-E, that's Bambi.com. Fans of the hit TV show Scandal can now revisit every episode on Unpacking the 12 Lots of Scandal Rewatch podcast, hosted by the cast members behind Quinn Perkins and Huck. So Gladiators, Grass and Burger, and revisit Scandal's most iconic OMG models. We would be like 110 degrees in a wool coat. Yeah. I mean, the thing that was going on in my temple first, I deserve all the more people. Listen to Unpacking the Toolbox, a Scandal Rewatch podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline, so I took control with Charlie's Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Charlie's helps maintain healthy cholesterol quickly and naturally. It's odor and taste-free, and Charlie's is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Charlie's Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Cholesterol's natural enemy. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed. Cancer symptoms can attack anywhere, like on a city street. Now, you can get fast relief anywhere with new improved Primatene Mist, the only FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. So whether you need relief on symptoms of a fart or it's a kitchen table, Primatene Mist starts working quickly, opening up your airways to restore free breathing. For temporary relief of mild symptoms of intermittent asthma, use Primatene Mist and breathe easy again. Available at CVS, Rite Aid, and Walgreens. Use as directed. Our iHeartRadio Podcast Awards are back. It's the biggest night of the year for podcast fans. Get ready to celebrate your favorite. Head to iHeart.com/podcast awards. Check out the nominees for Podcast of the Year. That's comedy, crime, news, sports, and more. Tuesday, March 14th. Join us for our 2023 iHeartRadio Podcast Awards. Audible is the proud sponsor of the Audible Audio Pioneer Award. From groundbreaking originals to best-selling audiobooks and the best and latest in podcasts, you'll find your next succession is Audible, the home of storytelling. Try Audible free. Sign up at audible.com. Portions of the following program will be recorded. Those are my favorite cognitive acting when someone proves philosophy courses. You can't trust your spouse or your loved one anymore. You'll go back into the jury room for deliberation. They'll handle inevitably you have some guy who is 60 things. I haven't done one in 20 years. You think I'm going to get them some money? Live 6 to 9 a.m. on KFI. And on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app. Up the Dr. Wendy Wells show. If you're a KFI listener who hasn't listened to my show before, because this is normally the time you listen, I just want to say welcome. It's so wonderful to have a new time slot in the After Dark. I've been from 4 to 6 p.m. for the last 8 years, so open up a couple hours. I don't know, it's fun. I'm genuinely Taylor. I am not a night person at all. I'm more of a morning person. And so it's kind of weird being here at this hour. But am I chipper enough? You are so chipper, and I know you have a long day ahead of you tomorrow. You got to get up early, and you just leave all the energy. But this was a really good show, Dr. Willie, for us to do after dark. It's not over. It's not over. No, I have some other things that I want to share with the world. Ooh, we're going to talk about that. Okay, my boyfriend, you and I, we were talking this past weekend. I don't know how it came up. But I joked about the idea of the wedding thing because I haven't decided if I'm going to propose to him or not. And so I said to him, we should do 10 cards at the wedding with our dating profiles on them. Because literally, I went to somebody's wedding once and they had the Match.com profile on each side. His on one side, the 10 cards in the middle of the table, and hers on the other. And then he said, well, how about we just print my list of things I was looking for in a mate? And I'm like, you had a list? He goes, oh yeah, it's in my phone. I'm like, what? He opened it up. It was dated 2019. Started reading off these attributes and traits, and it was cracking up because it was me exactly. He literally said, a woman who's very verbal, a woman who reads the New York Times, someone who is compassionate, but not too much. I think he doesn't want me saving animals in the street all night. I don't know. Yeah, because he's talking about your baby goat. He's like, girl, this baby goat is showing me that is adorable. That is just a routine.
surprising me in every way. And of course, he said smart, he said curious, because we're being more curious. But he needs a voice, so he also wrote, enjoy sex. And I'm like, oh yeah, put that there. I'm like, he's 63 years old. You're worried about what the mother thinks. Yeah, I think he knows his anniversary. I mean, he wants his children. That might give it away. Yeah, that'll tell you. But then I had my own list. I didn't write mine down, but it was in my head. And he actually, it was things like I wanted somebody who was resilient. We all go through hardship. No one's getting out of here alive, and no one's getting out of here. And along the way, how we deal with the hardship, the hardiness that we have, this resiliency, I think is really, really effective. Obviously, because I'm a survivor of domestic violence, good anger management skills, this is something I was looking for. Someone who likes to read, someone who's compassionate, and the big one, this is sometimes hard to find in people of all genders, is someone who's aware of their feelings and able to communicate what they're feeling. I'm amazed at how many people like that. Like, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I said that. It just came out of nowhere. It was probably backed up by a feeling. You gotta learn about it. So anyway, I was reading this really interesting blog today by Dr. Mark Travers, who's a psychologist. He went to Cornell. And, oh, actually, lead psychologist at Awake Therapy, a telehealth company. I don't know about them. I have to check them out. Anyway, he says that looking for an intelligent partner actually isn't about having a high IQ. It's not about having multiple degrees. It's more about character, right? And approaching relationships with genuine curiosity. So he came up with 3 kinds of intelligence that he thinks are the right things to look for if you are looking for a mate. The first one is the communicator. But let's be honest. Therapists' office are filled with couples who do not know how to explain what they're feeling. Communicate. It's not just words. It's words that are connected to feelings. And it's nobody's fault this happens. Parents may not teach children how to be connected with their feelings and how to connect words with their feelings. I think the most important thing a parent can do with a young child is just give them emotional vocabulary so that they can use it later in life. I think it's really important that we not withhold our feelings. It's really important that we don't hold the fantasy that our partner will be a mind reader. So being a good communicator doesn't just mean talking. Because there are lots of introverts who are still good communicators. They find ways to express their feelings in a healthy way. But the next kind of intelligence, he said, which just made so much sense to me. If you want to find somebody who has different intelligence from you. You know, I've always said that 2 people can accomplish so much more together than one single mind can alone. And now, in the last few years that I've been in a safe, secure, cooperative relationship, I can see how easy my life has become. My life was hard before, but I didn't realize it. I was a single mom for so many years. I was doing everything. I was the nurturer, the caregiver, the protector, the provider, everything. And then to have somebody step in, well, there's all the kids left, one of the job left with them, but also to have somebody step in and start doing 50% of the stuff. I'm sitting around going, what have some time? You know, it's amazing. So there's research published in Frontiers in Psychology, and it showed that wisdom, you know, that's what I like to think I have, a quality associated with mental powers, can actually present differently in men and women. So if we're talking about heteronormative relationships, one partner might be decisive and practical, another might be empathetic and socially intelligent. We need it all. You know, sometimes Lou and I watch movies together, and I have to explain things to him. Often, he's explaining things to me. Because we're getting different things about the movie. Because our intelligence complements each other. And finally, the third kind of intelligence that I think is a great hit, if you can find it in a love relationship, is simple curiosity. Um, I really think the test of an intelligent person is somebody who understands the limits of their intelligence. Understands don't know. Right? I know what I know. I also know there's a whole bunch of stuff I do not know. So I'm always looking for answers. I would say in the back of my mind, 100% of the time, is the word why. Why did they do that? Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? Oh, that's interesting. Why is that? Right? And so if you find a partner who is curious enough about you, even with themselves and their own decisions, or in the world, you would call that flexibility. The ability to change your mind based on new information. This is a very sexy trait, both one to demonstrate and one to get practice to. So you don't want somebody who's all opinionated, one way or the highway, right? Anyway, this brings the new Dr. Wendy after job to a close. It is always my pleasure to weigh in on your love life. I use the science of relationships every single day of my life. And I love to share with you. So you're welcome to follow me on social media. I try to post videos every day and handle everywhere at Dr. Wendy Walsh. It's my pleasure to be here. I like this nighttime thing. It's dark outside, Taylor. It's cool. Listen, it is what it is. Let's just for laughing, cooking stories for next week. Oh, I like that. Yes. Do it. Why not? That's the cost of life. You know, sex can be different things as you get older. A friend of mine said they're having a course that I was going. It's all something for everybody. Touch it yourself. Listen, it's been wonderful being here. Wonderful having you here. I'm always here from now on from 7 to 9 p.m. You've been listening to the Dr. Wendy Walsh Show on KFI, AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
God, without the joke. KFI.
Los Angeles and County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. The suspicious death of an LA bishop. I'm Mark Bonner, live from KFI 24-hour newsroom. The suspicious death of an auxiliary bishop with the Archdiocese of Los Angeles has turned into a murder investigation. ABC's Alex Stone says Bishop David O'Connell was found dead inside a home yesterday afternoon. He had been shot in the upper torso. The LA County Sheriff's Department tells ABC News Bishop O'Connell's death he is now believed to have been murder, as suicide has been ruled out. Work is underway to piece together circumstances of his murder. It's unclear how long he had been dead when he was found inside of the home. O'Connell has served in the LA Archdiocese for 45 years. He was 69 years old. Ohio Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown says residents should be skeptical about contamination after the toxic train derailment in East Palestine. Both the state and the federal EPA administrators said that but when you return to your home, you take the water safe, and when you return to your home, you should be back to the end. For your water and your soil and your air, not to mention those that have their own wells. Trump says people have a right to be worried despite having reassurance the air and water are safe. Trump says Congress is partly to blame for failing to regulate rail systems. The real problem is too much corporate influence. Former President Jimmy Carter, he is in hospice. After being in the hospital recently, Carter has decided to spend the rest of his life at home with his family. In the 80s, Mr. Carter was diagnosed with melanoma that spread to his liver and brain. Defying the odds with the help of an experimental drug. And through it all, always keeping perspective on the stability of life. Monica Albert says the Carter Center said in a statement yesterday that the 39th president will no longer seek additional medical intervention. His family and medical team fully support that decision. Carter's 98 years old, served as president in 1977 and 1981. Classes will resume tomorrow in Michigan State University 1 week after a deadly mass shooting. Interim Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, Thomas IXO says they hope for the most students to return to classes on campus, but they are prepared to offer additional virtual options. For extenuating circumstances where students really struggle and they are not able to make it, we have advisors ready to work with them to find what is the best time and what they got to do. A man shot and killed 3 students and critically injured 5 others last Monday. Vice President Harris is accusing Russia of committing war crimes in Ukraine. In a speech at the Munich Security Conference yesterday, Harris said the U.S. has examined the evidence and put the Kremlin on notice. To all those who have perpetrated these crimes and to their superiors who are complicit in these crimes, you will be held to account. He says the world has witnessed Russian forces engage in horrendous atrocities, including acts of murder, torture, and rape. Harris said justice must be served on behalf of all the victims. And Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has pledged an additional $100 million in aid to help the areas in Turkey and Syria hit by a deadly earthquake. Blinken took a helicopter tour today of one of the provinces worst affected by the earthquake earlier $85 million for 13 period. Days after the earthquake, it killed more than 44,000 people in the two countries. The U.S. has also sent a search and rescue team, medical supplies, and equipment. Now we're going to head to Stalin 5. Over the elbow side road after Abraham and Mission Boulevard that picked up the right shoulder. Crashed up again. The first west side before through the Avenue West Covina extreme with the right shoulder. The ball was hard in the dead west before Fraser Street. That crash was clear from those. And Carson was in Nelson Carson Street towards Boulevard. Then crashed into the two right hand side. Traffic fastest variant was secured 23rd Street. And in East LA on the 60 West after Center that earlier crash that cleared emergency crew at the part of the scene. KFI is dying of getting there faster. I'm Zachary Davis. Do you know what the three biggest problems are that people have with most plumbers? Think of that for a minute. You could probably write the list yourself. They don't come when they say they will. They charge you more after the job than what they quoted you up front. And they don't fix the problem right the first time. Who has time for that kind of aggravation? At Service Champions, performance is different. We'll be there in town, right when we say we'll be there. We'll give you a firm price in writing before we start. And all of our plumbing services are backed for our happy money promise. It's simple. If you're not happy, we don't pay. For us, it's all about respect. For you, our customers. Call Service Champions right now for all of your plumbing needs. Our number is 833-777-7777 or find us online at servicechampions.com. Southland weather from KFI, partly cloudy tonight. We'll get down to the mid-40s, down to mid-30s in Inland Empire and Antelope Valley. Your President's Day tomorrow should be sunny with highs in the mid-60s at the beaches and around 70 most other places. Chance of rain by Wednesday, and we could get it all the way through next weekend. Right now it's 55 in Costa Mesa, 54 in Anaheim, 52 in Santa Monica, 53 in Beverly Hills. One News Local, live from the KFI 24 hours Eastern line, Mark Ross. Yeah. KFI AM 640, heard everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. You're listening to Before the Coast, strange stories from the iHeart Vault. I'm Clay Rose. Tonight we showcase the podcast, The End of the World, hosted by Josh Clark of the podcast Stuff You Should Know. The End of the World is a 10-episode deep dive that we visited before that explores the future of humanity and finds dangers we have never encountered before or being justified. And if we humans are alone in the universe, if we don't survive, intelligent life dies with us. We humans could have a bright future ahead of us that lasts billions of years, but we have to survive the next 200 years first. From the episode entitled Natural Waste, host Josh Clark points out that there's a lot that can happen to Earth, like gamma ray bursts, supernova, greenhouse effect, human potential risk since our species was born. Because we are earthbound, what happens to Earth happens to us. Here's the end of the world on Before the Coast. Strange stories from the iHeart Vault on KFI AM 640. Existence stories aren't new to us. Ever since our species was born, there have always been lots of catastrophes spreading waiting to wipe the human race off the face of the earth, including us humans. In this episode, we'll look at a few of them. To get a feel for just how badly things can go on Earth, let's travel back to one particular day during the Maastrichtian age of the Upper Cretaceous period, about 66 million years ago, give or take 300,000 years. And on this day, a light streaks across the sky above Earth. That light, it turns out, is an asteroid, 6 miles across, and about the size of downtown Los Angeles. It's traveling at about 44,000 miles per hour, 25 times faster than a bullet. When it passes through the Earth's atmosphere as if it's not even there, and strikes the planet. The impact creates a blast with 100 million megatons of energy. For comparison, the Tsar Bomba, the largest nuclear bomb that humans have ever detonated, was 50 megatons. One got past Jupiter, needs to say. The asteroid strikes the Earth along what is now called the Yucatan, the spur-like peninsula that juts out of southern Mexico into the Gulf. It drives itself into the Earth, digging out a crater 110 miles in diameter and 9 miles deep. The impact takes a tremendous amount of earth and sea into the air. Boulders the size of cars are launched hundreds of miles from the impact site, as far away as Belize. The pressure increased from the collision is so great that it instantly melts the earth below. That melted rock sprays into the air, where it turns to glass before it can reach the ground, continents away. Quartz is pressed into crazy angles, and minerals into tiny spheres of metal. And when the heavier bits among all that crystal dirt and rock and metal come back down, it heats up. It brings a tremendous amount of energy with it, flash-heating the Earth's surface, and broiling alive anything that can't take cover underground or underwater. And as the earthquakes and tsunamis raging across the Earth and the fire raining from the sky begin to subside, things go from bad to worse. The finer particles from all that pulverized earth and liquefied rock launched into space stay aloft, forming a vast globe-spanning shroud that blocks out the sun for months. But as bad as the asteroid makes things for life on Earth, it is made even worse by a fluke, a stroke of sheer bad luck. The Yucatan, the area where the asteroid strikes, is one of the most sulfur-rich areas on Earth. And when that asteroid hit, as much as 500 billion metric tons of sulfur instantly rose from deep inside the Earth. In the sky, that sulfur mixes with water vapor and is bombarded by ultraviolet radiation from the sun. So it becomes sulfur aerosol, the type of atmospheric pollution that just happens to be the most efficient at absorbing sunlight and blocking it from reaching the Earth. The sudden presence of aerosols in the sky makes the darkness complete. Sulfur aerosols also form acid rain and freshwater lakes in the surface of the ocean that are poisoned by it. Life on Earth comes disturbingly close to total extinction. Millions of years later, humans will call this cataclysmic event the Cretaceous Tertiary extinction. It had such a profoundly colossal effect on the planet that it serves as the sudden and abrupt dividing line between one geological age, the Cretaceous, and the one that followed it, the Tertiary, or Paleocene as it's called these days. Around 75% of the species alive on Earth at the time died during the event and the hard times that followed the asteroid's arrival. Those species that did manage to survive had an extremely hard time of it. They hung on by a thread. Animals that were able to burrow, eat off the carcasses of the unlucky ones, and whatever plants still reached upward toward the sun that no longer shone. Those are the ancestors of everything alive on Earth today. Is alive. They could have died. They succumbed to their existential threat. We know all of this thanks to a father-son science team known as Luis and Walter Alvarez. As a geologist working in Italy in the 70s, Walter Alvarez found a thin layer of clay dating back to around 65 million years before. It was peculiar because immediately below this strip of clay, there was a wide variety of fossils with different types of forms, tiny single-celled organisms that had shells. But right above this clay, there was only one type. Forms are an excellent indicator to they eat plants and animals that invade on the seafloor, and they are very sensitive to changes in the environment. If something happens to forms, that means that something happened to everything else. And something definitely did seem to have happened to the forms around the time that clay strip was deposited. That drastically reduced the there was something similar among plants, too. Just below the clay strip were fossils of a wide variety of plants.
And I think for those people who can't really get, but like a lot of them, I know a lot of people might go and
directly from Mexico.
Why?
Walter had a very famous scientist there, Luis, a physicist who developed the first atomic bombs in the U.S., among many other things. By the late 70s, when Walter approached his father with the curious find of the clay strip, Luis worked at one of the national labs, where he had some colleagues who ran a mass spectrometer. He asked them to take a look at the samples of the clay layer.
Well, hey, Shadowman, remember how I have all your friends call you Shadowman? Remember when we tried to judge the, oh, yeah, we used to call that Mikey? we used to call our rabbi shadow man. And then I called him, one time I called him, I called my rabbi shadow man. And I was like, hey Rabbi Shadow Man. And it was like, hey Rabbi Shadow Man, how are you? Rabbi Shadow Man. Hey Rabbi Shadow Man. Remember when you were Rabbi Shadow Man? Man, you guys died out around 65 or so million years ago. You died in your last theological age matched that it's but at the time, the prevailing theory was that it had been a million-year period of volcanic activity that had been responsible for killing all the gas eruptions. Hey, phone is starting. So what the outburst was, remember when it was like, hey, phone is starting? Remember when you come to, hey, phone is starting? Your friend? And I had a friend. His name was Joyce, and he used to be like, hey, you know how everybody calls me Joyce? Would you mind if we called you phone is starting? Maybe Rabbi phone is starting? Hey, Rabbi phone is starting. Eventually, the debate was laid to rest. In 2010, 41 scientists in fields like paleontology, astronomy, theology, and others released a review of the literature on the Casey extinction and asteroid evidence and concluded that it was in fact an asteroid that killed off the dinosaurs. It's as close as science comes to being settled. There's something that gets overshadowed by the story of the dinosaurs' extinction. That life on Earth rebounded. Okay. Those small animals that could burn had held fast, and among all the darkness and death, they continued on. They reproduced and raised their young, and as the Earth slowly took off that extraordinarily bad day, it became again a fertile place, a place friendly to life. And that bottleneck created by the asteroid opened wide, and life spread again and grew diverse. And from that calamity, we humans arose, amid the vacuum left by the sudden loss of life. The dinosaurs' existential catastrophe proved to be our existential triumph. Which is to say that life is tough, and it is very, very difficult to extinguish it entirely. In the coming centuries, that will be a mark in its favor. You're listening to Natural Risk from the podcast, The End of the World. Right before the coast. Strange stories from the outside world. We'll have more coming up next on KFI. And now for a news update. I'm Mark Ronner, live on KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm beside your Rabbi Michael, who was the top attraction at Santa Barbara Zoo for over a decade, has been euthanized after his health declined due to complications from arthritis. Michigan State University set to return to classes tomorrow following a shooting that killed 3 students and wounded 5 others February 13th. And Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is this week's top movie in North America with $104 million at opening weekend. We'll tell you about some trouble on the 60 when we come back. This report is sponsored by the California DMV. Did you know that many DMV tasks, like renewing your registration or starting your Real ID application, can be done online any time of day? Check them off your to-do list without a trip to the DMV. Get started today at dmv.ca.gov/online. Again, people, there's no way to what you can try with your 3-day free pass. Sign up today at startalleyfitness.com. Conducting the training, running to running, one-on-one to box jump. When you join LA Fitness, it opens the door to premium amenities with Olympic lifting platforms, basketball courts, and more. Starting new favorite solutions. So get your pass today. Come into one of our hundreds of locations or join online with our latest offers. Grab your free 3-day pass at startalleyfitness.com. That's startalleyfitness.com. Let's find out about the trouble on the 60. Margarita Valley on the 60 east of Peacock Street. That's a car on fire near the embankment of the off-ramp. And the crews that pedestrians in the vehicle quickly outstated with fire crews on the scene. Those who are on there anyway used before Main Street at the stall in the Senate Divider. Out Irvine on the 5 South Home Drive at the also took a 2-minute lane. And west of the edge and west before to the avenue that crash started in the right lane. This sounded to the right shoulder to be cleared up shortly. In cars to the crash 60 right lane, walking the western north to Carson Street towards Colbert. No serious slowing is occurring here. KFI and Sky will see you there faster. I'm Zachary Fagan. The True Crime Podcast, Paper Ghost, is back with a brand new case. Season 3 digs deep into the 1992 cold case murder of Tammy Jozowicki, a New Jersey college student, and uncovers a murky police investigation, a pool of new suspects, and a
community still desperate for answers 30 years later.
Sammy's supposed to be on campus, and she's not here, and people are starting to get worried.
Listen to Paper Ghost on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast. Before I started Rooter Hero Plumbing, I was an angry young man. Hello, I'm John Coyan, founder of Rooter Hero Plumbing. I was angry because my dad died when I was 17 and he left me alone. I was angry because I couldn't go to college with my friends and because I had to drop out of high school. It's not a pleasant story. But as I grew older, I also grew up. I realized that my dad didn't leave me alone. He left me with values and principles that continue to shape my life. Dad said, be on time. He didn't like it when people were late. He taught me to be polite. It was something I lost, but we captured along the way. And he taught me to keep my promises, because broken promises lead to broken relationships. We choose and keep these values at Rooter Hero Plumbing. I think we have a pretty good company. I know we have great people. And if one of our heroes fails to live up to these values, please call me. My private number is on the back of every Rooter Hero business card. You can also reach us at rooterhero.com. Thank you. Struggling with sleep apnea? Now there's Inspire, the only FDA-approved destructive sleep apnea treatment that works inside the body to treat the root cause of sleep apnea with just a click of a button. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Visit InspireSleep.com to learn more.
The California Conference for Women is offering 2 exciting experiences this year: an in-person gathering on March 1st and a virtual event on March 2nd, featuring Misty Copeland, Naomi Osaka, Constance Wu, and top experts on leadership, well-being, and career advancement. Learn more and register at conferenceforwomen.org.
I'm Martin Hope, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I told you about how your nose is the body's air filter. This Navage's powered sucker will help flush out allergies, viruses, mucus, and germs. And Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, my doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a Neti-Pop. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. They're nice when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. Become a lifesaver, unquote. Choose one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life. On the Exorcist Files podcast, the leading exorcist and demonologist sharing stories of disturbing and vicious cases of possession. For the last 2 decades, Father Carlos Martin has encountered evil in nearly every way imaginable. What Hollywood portrayed in The Exorcist with levitation, vomiting, spitting at the priest, all of that has not been a movie for me. I have seen that firsthand. Listen to The Exorcist Files on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast. They don't put you in jail. They go to California, steal thousands of dollars. They don't put you in jail. It's a low-level nonviolent felony. You don't even have to show up in court. Yeah, that's another day. We'll let you know. So a plane lands from Romania, play. Johnny Cash. We've been stolen, and good luck getting it back. Live 1 to 4 p.m. on KFI. And on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app. KFI AM 640, heard everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Clay Rowe, and you're listening to Before the Coast, strange stories from the iHeart Vault. Let's return now to hear more of the podcast, The End of the World with Josh Clark. We humans are an earthbound species, and so whatever happens to Earth happens to us. Like the dinosaurs, we live under the threat of death from huge rocks traveling in unimaginable speeds hurtling toward us. But unlike the dinosaurs, we are in a position to do something about it. In the coming years, as our technology to travel through space develops, we'll become capable of spreading out around our solar system and eventually our galaxy. We will have made the biggest shift in our species since at least when we settled down and began raising crops. That sea change in human ecology, the advent of agriculture, led to sweeping changes for humans. It was, as Nick Foster would put it, a pan-generational change in how humans live. By coaxing food from the ground on a predictable schedule, and by taming animals and creating a reliable supply of meat and milk, we changed a lot about ourselves. Our bones, the traits of our skulls, the workings of our guts, the color of our skin, and it changed our culture too. The anthropologist Jared Diamond points out in his 1987 essay, The Worst Mistake in the History of the Human Race, about the advent of agriculture, we started to have a surplus of food, something that our hunter-gatherer ancestors never would have experienced. This meant that some people had more than others. It creates an imbalance in power, and hence agriculture also led to things like kings and armies and social classes. When we settled down, our cities developed. Agriculture can support more people than hunting and gathering, and the more people there are, the more brilliant ideas there are too. So our civilization began to advance by leaps and bounds in the last 9 or 10,000 years. Ideas spread more quickly among those people who lived together in those new cities, so innovations were able to develop over the span of a handful of years, rather than millennia. Almost everything we have in the world today can be traced back to our collective decision to settle down and raise crops. It was, to say the least, a sweeping thing for us humans. With our next traces, starting out into space, we are effectively doing the opposite of when we settle down into cities. Rather than contracting, we will be expanding. From that huge coming together, we will spread out. Over time, humans will begin to colonize other planets, and generations of little human babies will be born on planets other than Earth. They will be shaped by forces and experiences that no Earthbound human will have ever encountered, and they will learn to adapt to their home planet just like we did. We are quite capable of becoming all the things that it's possible to become. Life that starts from us and radiates out not only spreads to different places, it creates different styles, tastes, and cultures and approaches. All of the life that you see on Earth started out from a much smaller amount of variation, but with time it could explore lots of different uses and ways of live. And that's probably what would happen to us too. If we're the only life around and we can survive, we will radiate. We will become diverse and different and fill thousands, millions, billions different niches of different ways to be. Over time, perhaps their physical connection to humans on Earth will become distant enough that new species of humans will form, and the universe will be home to more than one species of human again, just as it was 50,000 years ago. We will become the aliens we seek, and later on, they might be surprised to learn that they came from something that was simple and not as great. It's odd to think of, but humans are in an evolutionary bottleneck of our own right now. There's only one species of us, with the exception of maybe half a dozen astronauts on the International Space Station at any given time. We are all stranded on this island, or no longer be in just a one basket of Earth. Should some catastrophe befall those of us here on Earth, we will begin to trickle throughout the universe. And when we do, we will have made it through the Great Filter. Colonizing beyond Earth is something we should begin working on as soon as we can, because Earth is vulnerable to a wide variety of catastrophes that are pretty hostile to life. Things like exploding stars, the death of our sun, even Earth's own systems going haywire. Take our sun for starters. Remember that Goldilocks zone, that habitable area around a star where a planet can sustain life? Earth is in the sun's Goldilocks zone, but it's not a permanent position. As a star, the sun is currently in its main sequence. It has plenty of hydrogen atoms in its core that it fuses into helium, and these constant nuclear reactions release tremendous amounts of energy, which we gratefully accept as light and heat here on Earth. But the sun is slowly using up its available fuel, and as it does, its core shrinks inside. That smaller core means that it's closer to the center of the sun, which means that gravity exerts more force on it, making it denser. All of this is what one would expect. But we're talking about cosmic stuff here, and as with all cosmic stuff, something weird always happens too. Because the core grows denser as it grows smaller, that means more fuel is closer at hand for the sun to burn. So its main sequence begins to speed up. It uses fuel more quickly, actually shortening its own lifespan, as compared to what it would be if it managed to maintain a slow, steady burn during its entire life. As the sun burns through its fuel supply more quickly, it's actually going to grow larger, much larger. In about 1.1 billion years, the Earth will no longer be in the sun's Goldilocks zone. It will be a lot closer, and it will keep getting closer from there. This is astrophysicist Ian O'Neill. When it goes through this end stage, when it starts to turn into what's called a red giant, and it's pretty much, red giant is pretty descriptive about what it's going to be, it will expand possibly out to the orbit of Earth. So this, the sun will basically fill up our entire sky. If you look out the window, it'll just be a big, heaving mass of stars. So you can imagine that with the sun right on top of Earth, there won't be much room for life. But billions of years before that point, the biggest issue we'll have to deal with is the increase in solar radiation. Sure, things will get much hotter on Earth than they are today. But as with the fallout from the K3 asteroid, there are places that some life could go. Underground, deep underwater. Sorry cows, sorry elephants, sorry feral pigs, sure. But as we've seen, life is persistent if anything. It would almost certainly find a way to adapt to the changes from the increased heat on Earth. At least at first. But the radiation from the growing sun will be so intense that it will tear apart the very molecules that make up Earth's atmosphere. All aerobic life, life that breathes oxygen, would die, obviously. But even anaerobic life would find it impossible to continue on Earth. Without an atmosphere to regulate temperature, the wild swing between intense heat and cold